Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it. We're doing it live.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Tonight on Stumbling Down History Road, we're going to be talking about Night of the Living Dead, the little George A. Romero cult classic that kind of just more or less inspired, I don't know, 90% of zombie shit. We'll also touch upon some remakes and some sequels, but mostly Night of the Living Dead. I'm Jackson.
I'm D.
And on the phone we got...
Brandon, how's everyone doing?
Doing all right. Before we really get too into it, I do want to give a quick little shout out that we missed last week, 2 weeks ago on the live stream, to the people who helped put the shirt together. Shout out to @GVO Clothing on Instagram.
Shout out to the siren in the background.
They actually made the shirt, and shout out to Mars_Howard on Instagram. She came up with the design. She's fucking phenomenal. She's awesome. Check them both out. They're great people. New York based, so you know it's a little bit easier if you're in New York. And I want to also say I got a couple extra shirts, so I want to give them out at 250 subscribers. So, you know, let's get us there and we'll give out some shirts.
Oh yeah, I found out that I have. When I was going through some of my things, I have Farrah Fawcett's holiday pictorial Playboy. So if we get to 250, I'll do Farrah Fawcett's for Christmas. If you know who Farrah Fawcett is.
Jesus.
Gonna keep shilling that. We gotta try and sex sells, shill it. But no, buy the shirts.
I'm giving them away. It's not even buying them.
Buy them from the people who buy shirts from the people who made them. You know what I mean.
Support the artists.
There you go. Support the official release.
Support the official release. Support the Screen Actors Guild, or the writers, I should say.
Both.
But yeah, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, and just the Of the Dead series as a whole.
Pretty much, yeah.
Where do we want to start?
I mean,
Do we want to briefly talk about what like actually happens in the movie? Now that we don't have it on in the background. Thanks, public domain.
gotta love it. I'd like that. Technically, that makes Wikipedia a streaming site because they have public domain movies on their site on the page. Yeah, that's the whole movie, so that technically makes Wikipedia a streaming site. What a weird loophole that is.
Brandon, do you wanna give us a little start?
I think he's
On the history of Dawn of the Dead?
Well, Night of the Living Dead, Of the Dead series, Dawn of the Living Dead, wherever you want to give it a start with. Where do you play into this? Is it like a family childhood classic for you type thing? Like, are you into zombies, maybe?
Yeah, into zombies. It's actually more of the childhood exemption with my family. My mom and my father had a big, huge thing against violent films, violent video games that showed depictions against violence towards humans. But zombies were an exception. So a lot of House of the Dead arcade machines, a lot of Resident Evil, a lot of Shaun of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Mall of the Dead, 28 Days Later, so on and so forth.
All right, so you pretty much grew up with zombies as like the violent type of thing at your house instead of like war movies and things like that. Okay.
Oh yeah, I got more trouble from GTA than probably like the most violent Resident Evil games at the time.
Okay. And what about you? I know that you're a big, like classic history buff. We had this Lost episode all about it. Well, with like just a bunch of different movies that you've seen and different inspirations that like.
Oh yeah, okay. I mean, in terms of like, it wasn't just like so much for me, Night of the Living Dead, that got me into the zombies. It ended up kind of partially being like the Max Brooks stuff a little bit that started me, because I got the survival guide and everything.
Good book. Good book.
I don't have a copy of anymore. I have a copy of World War Z, but never got a new copy of Survival Guide. I mean, need to do that.
All right.
But I mean, then I ended up getting into like all the movies and stuff too, and I mean, there's also all the zombie stuff in general. Before that, you just kind of were culturally there before.
Would either of you guys say that zombies are probably your favorite movie, like undead style creature?
No, you know me, it's vampires.
I got vampires from him. Brandon?
I like space zombies more. I find it a little bit more interesting. I like the sci-fi zombie, not the mystical zombie, but the necromorph, the Event Horizon, the oh that's technically zombies, but 28 Days Later, kind of Resident Evil. But
Night of the Living
anything
Dead.
where the I Living Dead, yeah, anything where the zombie is caused by a human or natural thing. I'll even take spore zombies; those are fine too.
What type of zombies you say? I'm sorry,
Uh, zombies caused by like fungal infection or
Oh,
a fungal.
Orcs. Got it.
orcs. Orc.
Shout out to our
Yeah,
Warhammer
technically,
40k episode.
Warg.
I don't know. I think in terms of undead style monster, they're probably my favorite movie monster. Vampires are kind of cool. Skeletons are kind of cool, but like,
Spooky, scary skeletons.
like, it's a fucking zombie, you know?
Does that beg the question? Are werewolves considered undead or not?
I would say no.
No,
Yeah, no. Werewolves are more of a curse.
Yeah, we shut that down real quick. So,
You gotta make sure you have it on base though that we know what we're dealing with.
so
can't
Night of
find
the
that one guy.
Yeah. So Night of the Living Dead, I like how we're talking about it being like the progenitor of zombie movies and things like that, but
It wasn't.
technically speaking, it's not the first time in media reference that it's ever been referred to as a zombie.
No, the first
But go ahead.
was the first Western cinema zombie film was White Zombie, and that was
1932, I think. It was in
Yeah.
the early 30s.
and that one was more partially based off the Haitian concept of zombies.
Shout out to our King Kong episode and our horror movie episode because we loosely touched on early horror movies, which
Yes.
that was.
Very early. But it basically was kind of the movie that turned the word zombie into the English or into the Western lexicon, basically.
Yeah, but that was more of like a voodoo style, right? Like
Yeah,
hypnotized
Haitian-y.
effectively.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of were partially portrayed. Because even in the Haitian myth, zombies are considered a type of undead because they're technically dead but they're not actually dead. It's a whole, actual zombies do exist technically. It's just they're not what you think they are.
Okay.
And it'd take me a few minutes to have to explain that. I don't know if you care or not.
Do you care, Brandon?
I'm fine. I think I understand a parallel with it too. That even outside of media, you can look at nature and there's a bound of fungi and ants and parasitic organisms that kind of make the creature a zombie in a way.
Yeah.
Yes. There is like the fungal zombies and stuff that do exist from nature with bugs and stuff that
Yep.
wouldn't work on us because we possess a nervous system and everything. Just whatever. Anyway, but the Haitian or voodoo zombies are you have somebody you don't like or there's somebody you don't like, and you would pay a
Witch doctor or a voodoo doctor type person.
yeah, they're called bokors, if memory serves, and they're the not good version of a practitioner of voodoo magic, so to say. And what they would do is they'd poison you with pufferfish poison and a mixture of other cocktails and basically almost kill you but not quite kill you, and you'd be declared dead. And then they would bury you and they let you sit there kind of in a coma for a while in the grave and kind of get like lack of oxygen, brain damage and stuff. And then they dig you up and, because you're all completely fucked up and stuff, they proceed to like brainwash you and hypnotize you into being like a
slave, a pseudo slave.
Yeah. So technically they were
Not a
considered,
religious slave, but
and technically they're not undead, but because they were considered dead and stuff and everything, yeah. So that's where proper zombie comes from.
interesting. Did you know any of that?
No, I do not.
Yeah, it's a whole big thing. Even then, voodoo doesn't necessarily originate from like Haiti and stuff too. It goes all the way back to Africa, and it's
Yeah.
it's a big.
That's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Just putting a baseline on the zombies.
And even then, that wasn't even inspired so much by that. That was Night of the Living Dead was more partially inspired by the I Am Legend novella.
That's true. The 1954, it's on record from George Romero. I've heard him say it, that he's been like a direct reflection almost I Am Legend.
Yes.
Although he wanted to play it more of the beginning of the I Am Legend.
Yeah.
Although, if we go to the next one, there is a Rise of the Living Dead allegedly coming out. That actually like talks about that, but that's George Romero's son.
Probably using like some of his notes and stuff.
Yeah, it's using his notes, his books about it. This
It's
was
never
never
actually
a-
explained in the movies how the zombies came about. It's hinted in the first one, or it's hinted in the first one through a radio broadcast. It might have something to do with
aliens.
It wasn't.
Aliens.
It was a. It was a.
Yeah,
a
it's
fallen. It was also a fallen Soviet satellite too. I think.
No, so they mention a fallen. They mention like an alien thing. But I do want to. I want to talk a little bit about the history of Night of the Living Dead right now. Right, 1968. George Romero started off in Philadelphia, making like advertisements for different companies and things like this. He actually did a couple skits for Mr. Rogers.
Really.
Yes.
Huh.
There's one that I heard about that I couldn't find before I was able to actually like do this. Mr. Rogers gets a does a tracheotomy or tuberculosis, whatever it is, something to do with like a dental procedure, which I know isn't a tracheotomy, but like something to do with dental procedure, surgery, tuberculosis maybe, and that was one of the ones that he did.
Tonsillitis, maybe.
Maybe it was tonsillitis. Because tuberculosis isn't dental. Yeah, that's dumb.
That's
of
in
me.
your lungs, man.
Yeah, but he was working with like some pretty good people, and getting a rise this way. It was shot with $115,000, $20,000 of 1967 money, because it came out in release in '68, and it grossed $30 million then. So just like our last one, it was an extremely The Evil Dead. It was an extremely low budget film that had no right going anywhere near as big as it did.
Yeah, no, it was very guerrilla shot too and everything.
Yep.
And it was also like one of the first movies to have a African American as the lead.
That's true. And that
As we're probably learning right now on screen, I think there he is now
Ben.
pulling Barbara. Yeah, the character's name Barbara.
they're coming to get you, Barbara.
And then I don't remember who played her. I want to say Rachel Foster, I think.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Whatever. I have the Wikipedia page. I'll fucking check it.
But this released, and they were doing press conference for like press tours for. I don't know if it was
Judith
released.
O'Day. There it is. I'm sorry.
I don't remember if it was released before Martin Luther King was assassinated, or like they were doing the press release for it. But that was going on during this time. And spoiler alert for a movie from 1968, Ben dies.
Yeah.
It kind of changed everything. Not that like George Romero wasn't kind of like a political figure in terms of trying to stir some shit.
Well, it was also because main characters in movies don't necessarily die like that too.
Yeah.
That wasn't very precedent that your main character would just get killed even if it's in the last bit of the movie. Nowadays, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, maybe, who knows, but
It's still not common, but
yeah.
It was
Also-
also one of the last films to be released before the ratings board came to effect.
yes, that's true. This is one of the ones that helped MAPPA, MPPA, the rating systems for movies, because this was shown on Saturday night matinees, and before that you had like Alfred Hitchcock style movies, which were more thrillers and suspense, but still horror. But like there was nothing graphic or gory. There was no, black and white shot of a dude eating ham bone with chocolate syrup, so it looked like it was ripping from a person. There was none of that.
Heck, even the lead chick, she's pretty much catatonic most of the film. Like, she's just in a daze mode. Like, if you pay that, she's just kind of sitting there doing nothing. And she's supposed to be the lead.
It kind of just like George Romero never wanted to like make this a zombie movie. They were called ghouls, like it changed so much shit. And he's now like the godfather, grandfather.
Was, he's passed away,
Yes.
but-
Of zombies and wrote rules for them that like they followed for years. It wasn't until what 28 days later we had fast zombies.
No, because I think the first Dawn of the Living Dead came before Dawn of the Dead came before that.
So Dawn of the Dead,
The remake one.
2004.
Yeah.
That was 2004. 28 days later, I think was 2002 or something like that.
Was it?
Yeah.
No.
But I know it wasn't Dawn of the Dead that did it. Do you have any input on this, Mr. Zombie Lover?
Not with this particular film, no.
But I
Oh,
think,
it was 2002. Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
you're
I
right.
think it was 2002's Dawn, 28 Days Later, where they were like, hey, aggressive zombies, fast zombies. But we
Well, they
started,
weren't technically zombies in the film, though. They were,
but they followed the same rules.
rage.
They were
Effectively.
infected.
What'd
Yeah.
you say?
Oh, they're infected, and their rules were different in the contrast of like the traditional zombie being internally living, like Max Brook zombies. They could be sitting in a lake for hundreds of years and never die. Rage zombies, as they stated, only lived for as long as a human would without food and water. So there was a time limit to them. There were some conditions to them.
I mean, even with traditional undead zombie, there's kind of a time limit before they more or less rot away, depending.
Yeah.
Although there is the World War Z zombie survival guide explanation where they last longer because they freeze in the winter and preserve themselves.
That I
Yeah,
could
it
see.
had a lot of cool analysis on like what if scenarios.
Yeah, we'll have to get into that whole thing. Which, by the way, Max Brooks, shout out to our Mel Brooks episode. Max Brooks is Mel Brooks' son.
Yep.
Just for people who don't remember that,
Yeah, I mean,
call back.
zombies, spoopies, all sorts of fun stuff.
He was in the zombie versus vampire episode of Deadliest Warrior.
Jesus.
Did you ever watch Deadliest Warrior?
I did. A couple episodes. I remember Pirate versus Ninja. things
They
like
never
that.
did Pirate versus Ninja. It was Pirate versus Knight. And they said that was the age-old
Yeah.
question. I'm like, motherfucker, no, it wasn't. It was Ninja versus Spartan, which made even less sense. Like, had they just flipped the two fights, that would have worked. But no, they were fucking stupid about it. Made no sense. The age-old question, Pirate versus Knight. No, it wasn't. It was Pirate versus Ninja, motherfuckers. Sorry.
He's got a little bit of a,
Bias.
yeah.
Although the Vlad the Impaler episode was pretty sick. They opened it with impaling a fucking whole body, like a whole ass ballistic shell body.
Another rule that
Sorry.
George Romero made, basically, was headshots. Has to be a headshot.
Boom headshot.
Boom headshot,
Boom
FPS
headshot.
Russia.
That's not FPS Russia. It's
Oh, I
FPS Doug.
Yeah. But
And I don't like FPS Russia. The fake accent gets so fucking grating.
headshot, they walk slow because of the ankles. He's gone on record to go against fast zombies. And they eat people, you know? They're eternal beings, effectively.
Eat people.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just some shit that like survived for way longer than anybody ever gave it credit for. And again, it is
I mean, it kind of came culturally almost in waves a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the big boom of it with the.
well, George Romero was never one to shy away from politics. I don't know if anybody's recognized this watching any of his films, but he's never been one to shy away from any of the politics that have gone on with things.
I mean, the core thesis of the films is more about about actual communication breakdowns across the lines.
that's a good song.
Communication breakdown, Led Zeppelin, yeah. But yeah, it's about like what happens when we stop like communicating and just start kind of getting. Yeah,
So there was the 1964 Monsters at Mulberry Street Twilight Zone episode. One of the top 10 rated Twilight Zone episodes of all time.
too. Yeah,
He didn't have a hand in it, George Romero. No.
Could've sworn he did.
But he was inspired by it as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
But you've seen Monsters on Mulberry Street, right?
It's been a long time.
I think it's the monsters are
Yeah,
dead on Mayberry Street.
Maybe it was that. But it's aliens come, they start fucking with a block by turning off the power and individually turning on lights and being like, oh, it's them. They're causing this. They're causing this. Blah blah blah. And it's just
Mm.
it talks about how simple it is to just destroy the world. And-
Well, cause chaos basically among people.
And George Romero borrowed a lot from it.
The I Am Legend, yeah,
The I Am Legend.
which we'll get into when we get to our vampire episode, because those are vampires explicitly in I Am Legend.
Yes, which is one of the reasons why he didn't want to do vampires, but he wanted something cool and undead. Like he was still looking for something kind of cool and edgy. He wanted that vibe.
I mean, even the concept of the zombie even goes for kind of in. I mean, the ghoul itself in concept goes back even further too.
We've been talking a lot. Brandon,
Sorry.
do you have any
No,
input
you're-
on
you're
this?
fine. Well, to talk a little bit on your guys' mention of how the breakdown in communication occurs, mostly in these films, a lot of them as well. That's the kind of the C plot going on, seeing how these communities and groups break down depending on what type of threat is occurring. And sometimes the zombies aren't even the real threat; they're just kind of this environmental hazard that they're annoyed by. But it's now Johnny down the street getting really twitchy with the gun, or how the government's handling, how religious organizations are handling it.
Yeah, that is that tends to be come up as a theme, especially in his more a little bit of the later films with Romero stuff. But
There's like 5 direct sequels of the Living Dead series.
yes,
There's Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Living Dead, Mall of the Living Dead,
no, Day of the Dead
Day of the Dead, the Living Dead, Diary of the Living Dead,
and Land of the Dead.
and Land of the Dead. And I think that's in the correct order.
I think there's one more he did, but I can't remember what it was.
I think he was in production for it before it actually got shut down. But there's been recolorings and 3D versions of this.
An actual remake that
A remake in 1990 that he hated.
No, he actually wrote it.
No, he didn't. He had no part in the 1991.
Did he not? It's
No.
not what he did.
No. He had no part in the 1991. The 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead, you might have seen, it got relatively good reviews.
It was a pretty good movie. It had a pretty kid soundtrack too.
Yeah. I was listening to Richard Cheese earlier today.
Dude, he's doing a tour, and he has a show, and it's $250 for a ticket.
Jesus.
And I'm like, as much as I want to see that because it's apparently his last tour, I'm like, no offense, dude, but you're not worth $250 a ticket.
Yeah. Is he the headliner or is he just a guest?
Yeah, he's the headliner. But it's his final tour apparently.
I'm a little upset. I was looking for Guar tickets earlier.
It says he wrote the official remake right here.
Did he?
Yeah, wrote and written by Romero, but directed by Tony Savini.
Maybe that was it. But it wasn't just like George Romero, who we should have credit for with this, the original one, the 1968 one, because there was a lot of executive producers, there was a lot of directors. Pretty much any scene with the kid that's in the cellar, that was hands-on directed by the father of the kid because they were an actual family. He wanted to show a little bit of destruction of the nuclear family. He wanted to show the communication breakdown. A little bit of just like, hey, little subtle things set all sorts of shit off. And
Cool.
like, I don't know if anybody, lived, let's go back 2 to 3 years ago during that time with the big old C word that we're not allowed to say.
Koofy.
Yeah. Anybody drawing parallels? Like,
Yeah.
it's just, there's no communication, no knowledge of what's going on, no knowledge of how to stop it. Little things happen and they're able to like figure it out. Oh, is this the scene? There's the smack and there's the knockout. Yeah. The actor who played Ben in this, because we're watching the scene right now where he hits her, was vehemently opposed to it, but George Romero said that it needed to happen. So he got overturned, but he was vehemently against it when they were filming this.
Oh yeah, because wrong people see that they could get pissed, especially at the time.
Again, this is the filming of it is pre the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. So this was not exactly a good time for some people.
I mean, there's also the unofficial sequels too, the Return of the Living Dead series.
Yeah.
Which, interestingly enough,
Are you familiar with the Return of the Living Dead series?
No.
No? All right.
so
Take it away, Johnny.
So with the Return of the Living Dead, the concept to that one is that the movie itself was technically a movie, but it's based off an actual event that happened in Pennsylvania that was caused by this chemical spill. And what happens is they spill the chemicals because somebody's talking about trying to impress a chick in the chemical plant where it supposedly happened. And so they accidentally revive one of the bodies that they have on hand because it's like a chemical plant and like a whole thing. It's weird, whatever. But they have
Horror movie logic.
they have like it's like a science store too. So they also have like specimens or whatever. It's hard to explain. But so they burn the body with the chemicals in it, and the chemicals burn up and like get released into the graveyard and then rain down into the graveyard and cause all the bodies to come back. It's notable because it had like this kind of famous actress do a nude sequence in it too, where she dances naked and stuff.
Of course, that's why he knows it.
Then she gets eaten and everything towards the end because she said she wanted to be eaten by like zombies or something. So, it was an all right film, but I find the fact that the whole concept of it was that the movie was partially based off real events that they end up accidentally recreating is a very.
Yeah, that's pretty meta. That's kind of cool.
But it also spilled into a couple other sequels where I think like the second one was noted for when the zombie fought a shark. I think that was the second one.
Zombie shark fighter.
Or is that the
there was
Italian one?
By
There was a little
Aquabats.
man who was going to grow up and make Sharknado that was really inspired.
The zombie shark fighter by the Aquabats.
Oh, yeah. Aquabats are pretty good.
They're all right.
I like their whole like weird superhero lore and stuff behind them.
Yeah, I'd probably see them.
Any group or I like meta groups that have like weird lore and stories to them, like gorillas and stuff.
Guar.
Yeah, Guar.
So, I know dozens of accolades have been given to this movie.
It's just like the on fire chair.
I know dozens of accolades have been given to this movie, and people pretty much credit this with being like his, this is probably his best work, period.
And he's done other stuff.
Yeah, but
He also did
nothing's
The
as
Crazies.
successful. Nothing is as successful. Nothing has probably stood the test of time as well as this. I mean, as said, just look back, a few years ago, and you can see parallels to today. It really does just have good social commentary anytime and stand up. Sure, it's black and white, even when they weren't doing black and white films. Because '68 they weren't doing, they had the availability for color films, but like they wanted it low budget and to suspense things up, and this is how they did it. It's got great directing, which was a pretty much team. I know George Romero gets a lot of credit for it, but everybody was able to ad lib certain things in order
Creepshow is good.
in order to get different things written through. It was kind of like a community poll. What?
He was the executive producer, one of the main writers for Tales from the Dark Side. Like, you have to give him credit for shit, dude.
I'm not saying that he's bad, but this is probably like, the best thing he's ever done. Period.
I wouldn't say it's the best thing he's ever done. I'd say it's the most culturally significant thing he's ever done.
Yeah, the stars aligned for this to really pop off at the time that it did and get picked up throughout the generations. If this came out maybe 10 years earlier, 10 years later,
Yeah, it
Maybe
might not
not.
have had the impact it had.
Yeah, it definitely was like right time, right moment. Especially with, again, given the MLK assassination and Ben dying in the film. Spoiler alert. That's
The
Ben.
slapping and stuff.
That's
like,
Ben. Spoiler alert.
public domain.
Yeah. Thanks, public domain. Sorry about the advertisements. But
We'll cut those.
it was, unprecedented effectively.
Fun fact, you know why the Shaun of the Dead, the gun was there? Because of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, specifically because he uses the
Almost
lever action.
straight up,
There it is. The gun itself, the lever action. Yeah, the Winchester.
almost every single zombie movie owes something to this film.
I think George A. Romero actually ended up saying that Shaun of the Dead became his favorite movie, though.
Yeah, I could see that. It's just a good time. What about you? Do you think that this is, like I said earlier, I tried to. This is on the top 100 greatest films of all time on pretty much any website, any list, anywhere. Do you think it ranks up there?
Yeah, what it does too is it doesn't really date itself too poorly. We'll be able to watch this 20 years from now, and on its own, it will still hold up.
Yeah, a lot
They
of...
they do really well with the color and lighting, and yeah, despite the black and white, it still looks good.
It's almost a bottleneck film, too. It only really has two locations. The cemetery at the beginning, and then this house. And then really...
There's a little bit outside, technically, but
yeah, there's a
not by
couple
much.
moments outside here or there, but for the most part, I think
It's pretty much just the house.
80% of this film is, the house.
And I think that George Romero did a fantastic thing, especially being, at the time, an amateur film director, which a lot of people was like, yo, check out this amateur, film, blah, blah, blah. Which is one of the reasons why the actor who plays Ben pretty much stopped acting. It was like, I just got overshadowed by the fact that it's an amateur film. It did nothing for me as an actor. Oh, there's the bruise. But it did nothing for me as an actor. It was all about George Romero and his amateur film directing.
Too for that scene.
Yeah. After she slaps the shit out of him, he bashes the shit out of her.
To be fair, though, she was freaking out and trying to accidentally get everybody her and him killed, so...
Yeah.
If no offense, if a chick is freaking out and trying to feed us to the zombies, I'm probably going to knock her ass out.
She didn't know it at
There's
the
always
time. There's always what?
there's always the one kind of out there like I don't know how I feel about you. Oh, you got bitten. What are you gonna do? And of course they're gonna keep it hidden and be a problem later.
Yep. But that, you talking about the one chick trying to kill everybody? That reminds me of Airplane. Great parody movie.
Oh, yeah. She's freaking out, and then they start rattling, beating the shit, and there's a line of people waiting to kick her ass.
Here, you take over. I gotta go do something.
You needed a front. Take over. Okay, I'll take over. So he starts punching her and shit. The guy with the brass knuckles and the other guy with the pipe and shit.
Yep. Great callback. Comedy
good-
episode.
Mel Brooks, I think it was.
Yeah, probably.
Which wasn't Mel Brooks. It was the...
No, but they were pretty much like the only competitor comedy-wise at the time that made any
what is
sort of
their name?
significant
The
in
something
America.
brothers, the
In
something.
America.
What-
Obviously, Monty Python is Monty Python.
Do you know the name of the brothers?
Zemeckis?
No, it wasn't the Zemeckis. You're thinking of Robert Zemeckis, and no, it's fuck.
Who did Airplane?
It'll come back to me. Whatever. In the comments, tell us when you like, share, and subscribe. Some bullshit.
Like, share, subscribe, comment. What?
500 subscribers, Playboy.
250 shirt
Farrah
giveaway.
Fawcett.
But you got to be a public subscriber, so this way I can actually like put you on a wheel, and be like, haha.
Wheel of morality. Turn, turn, turn. Show us the lesson that we shall learn.
Jesus Christ, Animaniacs.
We should get a wheel of morality, but just have really fucked up weird things, and just have it at the end or at the very beginning. Just be like, all right, here's our lesson for the day at the very beginning. Just spin the wheel and have something fucked up on it.
Hello, nurse.
Good night, folks. Just end the episode here.
No.
Stumbling.
In terms of zombie films, this may not be the most entertaining for you, but where do you rank this? Is this in your top 5, in your top 10? Is this number 1? Anybody's free to jump in.
It's definitely in my top 10. Maybe almost top 5. I have to think, what would be my number one zombie film though? It's a good question.
It's pretty recent. I like Train to Busan a lot.
I have not seen Train to Busan yet.
That is a good one. Yeah,
It's-
but I would put this in the 10 too. Not very high on 10.
You know, it was a weirdly
Let's
interesting
go.
zombie movie that
I might put this top 5 for me. Honestly, I might put this top 5 for me. I know it's dated a little bit by just like
I mean,
effects and, you know.
it's also timeless though in terms of like how story and stuff works though.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's hard to argue with the fact of like, hey, people are dying all around you. You went to go and visit your father. Father? Was it father? Grandma? Who did they go to visit initially in the graveyard?
I don't remember.
They went to go and visit somebody in the graveyard initially.
I think
They
it might have
find
been
a
both their
quote
parents.
unquote creepy man who ends up being, you know, a zombie. The brother tries to protect Barbara and ends up tripping, hitting his
Father's
head.
grave. Okay.
Yeah, father. Ends up tripping, hitting his head on a tombstone, basically killing himself. And then they don't know what goes on in order to just. The dead are returning from the grave. They're not staying dead. So it really is kind of timeless in terms of that. But, like, you know, language is a difficult thing to adapt.
Yeah, I was right. They theorized it was an exploding space probe returning from Venus. So I was kind of right with this.
I was also kind of right.
Which one does explicitly say it? There is a zombie movie that does explicitly say aliens, and interestingly enough, you know that was how The Walking Dead was supposed to end.
Aliens?
They said it was going to be aliens to the producers to get it made, because they wanted that. They wanted a kind of an ending to it or like a proper explanation, and they said, okay, we'll make it aliens, and then just kind of never did. But I think the comic book guy did end up also saying it might have been aliens too, like the guy who wrote the comics, but I could be wrong. It's been a while.
He's done a lot of things, the guy that did the comics.
Yeah, didn't he also do Invincible?
Yeah. And I think The Boys.
Was that him?
I think. I don't know. There's Image Comics. We'll do an episode on you at some point. That's neither here nor there. But I would say this is probably in the top 5 for me for zombie movies. I don't know exactly what we would call zombie movies because, like, is 28 days later, 28 weeks later, is that zombie? If they're not zombies, they're rage monsters, kind of, but, like...
We consider it a zombie movie.
Yeah, and what you hold the top 5 or top 10 really depends on what you're looking for in a zombie film.
Yeah.
Are you looking for good gore? You're looking for really cool designs? Are you looking for like good 12 angry men kind of dialogue? What are you looking for?
I mean, I would say probably...
That's an interesting use of that line there. I like that. 12 angry men dialogue. I like that. It's a good one.
I would say right now, like, my top 5 would probably be, in no particular order, this, Shaun of the Dead, the 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead, Train to Busan, which might be number 1, and...
He's just hacking off those fingers. Sorry.
Honestly, I don't even really remember a zombie movie that, like, gets me. I guess maybe kind of, sort of, by a loose technicality, zombies appear in Cabin in the Woods, but, like, that's not it. Do Deadites from Evil Dead count? Like, because then maybe that...
They are technically reanimated corpses, even if it is being reanimated by a demon.
All right, well, then I'd probably go with, like, Army of Darkness. Another comedic zombie movie.
Hell, you could even say that there's technically a zombie in The Northman. The Draugr. That's a That's considered a zombie by some. The Norse version of one.
Yeah.
This doesn't make it a zombie film, but he's there.
That's why I said Cabin in the Woods. Like, they have a zombie for, like, 30 seconds.
They have a whole lot of stuff for like 30 seconds. There's that whole one.
Great movie. Great movie. Underrated.
The elevator sequence alone was really good.
Yeah. Severely underrated. If you haven't checked out Cabin in the Woods, it's from 2008.
Whatever.
Check it out.
Really great meta film.
Early Channing Tatum, too.
Was that really?
Early Channing Tatum.
Holy shit, I forgot.
Yeah. What about you? If you had to actually say top 5 zombie movies, it doesn't have to include Night of the Living Dead.
Like we
We'll
said,
start with Brandon.
Yeah, I'm looking through. Like I'm a big fan of 28 Days Later. I really liked Warm Bodies. I know that's not like super zombie, but it was actually just an overall good film.
That was a zombie movie.
it was interesting.
It's a
I have
zombie
seen that one.
movie.
It was
It was
unique.
very unique.
Yeah.
It's one of the few where they're
Probably the best,
sentient.
like,
What are you saying?
no, so the thing with Warm Bodies, like one of the zombies starts to become aware after eating the brain of this girl that he kind of starts to have a thing for. It's Romeo and Juliet story.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
but
I've
with
seen it.
Zombies.
Yeah, but the zombies become sentient towards the end, though, more or less.
iZombie's kind of
Yeah,
a
they
cool
figure
show.
out.
Oh yeah, iZombie, that one. There's
That's kind of a cool show.
There's sentient in that one, yeah. Although it gets weird and convoluted towards the end, I think.
What show doesn't? It's CW.
Oh, fucking that's an interesting episode because we could go down the whole convoluted shit that happens in those.
So you were saying?
So Zombieland.
Zombieland
Yeah.
was good. Sequel's unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree.
I think if they, actually put a little bit more effort into it and released it at a timely fashion, it would have been good.
Or
But
maybe actually did something with the zombie variants they established, which they didn't seem to do.
Mhm.
Like, we already had fast zombies in the movie, and then I think they introduced the ones who wait, the ones who are like berserk or something, like, but they didn't do shit with any of them. So, like, what was the point?
yeah,
even
waste of
though-
potential.
Even The Walking Dead kind of did a little something with the waiters for a while till they just stopped being a concept. Because in The Walking Dead, there's ones that walk, and then for a while there was also the concept of the waiters who would like just kind of sit there and wait for somebody to stumble by, and then they'd attack them. And then they'd either become walkers or go back to waiting. But they stopped using that concept a while ago, and it just became hordes.
You were saying?
Try to go. That's really about it for like standout zombie films on my mind, and then just fill the rest with Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead.
Yeah. A lot of Romero
Nothing.
stuff. Some remake Romero stuff. What about
Oh
you?
yeah, the little girl in this dies.
Well, she was dead. She was bitten earlier.
Which, interestingly enough, she ends up using a tool in this.
Yes.
And then the concept of them using a tool disappears up until Land of the Dead comes out way later.
Yep. Yeah, she uses a...
A garden trough to stab her mother.
Yep. Yep.
But
Spoiler alerts for a movie from, I don't know, 60-ish years
also,
ago.
like way later, like another 20 minutes into the film.
Yeah. But what about you? If you had to, in no particular order, like top 5-ish.
Kind of already said a few, but let's see. I have to go with like this, Dawn of the Dead, the remake, Return of the Living Dead, just because of how kind of like weirdly
It's
meta
unique.
it yeah. Let's see. What else was good that we liked? If I had to do like,
Honestly, check out Train to Busan. It's
it's
good.
on my list. It's been on.
I think you'd appreciate it.
Struggling to think because there's a lot.
There is a lot of like,
Shaun of the Dead, yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of like random zombie movies that are, you just kind of forget about.
And then just like like they're either like really good or just kind of like forgetful, weird, but still have like a fun, interesting gore moment that just kind of
Yeah.
Oh, does Versus count? I think this. Oh man, I'm trying to think.
Versus? I don't know about Versus.
It's it has zombies in it. It's more technically about like kung fu, sword fighting and stuff. It's a weird job. Is that I think there's zombies in that one. No, they just have like weird kind of undead demony guys. Oh, what's the one with the girl who has to use a chainsaw katana? And they have the little antenna because they're like alien spore zombies from Japan. Oh man, that movie's so fucking stupid and so fun.
Oh man, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of Japanese horror films, you
Oh,
can
the
go-
Japanese horror films
Oh.
are fucking great.
That is an entirely different episode.
Oh,
We'll talk about that on a different episode.
Those are so much Japanese, especially like the crazy splatter ones and stuff like that feature like schoolgirls. but the one I'm thinking of though, because it is a zombie film, so it counts. But I can't think of the name of it. But it's it's like a schoolgirl. She has like a chainsaw katana.
So a chainsword and a Stardy's chainsword.
Yeah. And
Shut up, Warhammer.
technically, you have to take the little antenna off the zombie to kill them. But she chops off their head and then just like rips it off or something like that. But oh man, I can't think of the fucking name of it though. It's such a goofy, weird film. But
I'm going through my
Helldriver?
emo phase.
what? Is it Hell Driver?
Helldriver?
I think it is Hell Driver. Yeah. Are you looking that up? No, thank you. All right. I think it's Hell Driver.
Yeah, like I'm seeing that the only thing popping up now, there's Chainsaw Man, which is flooding the results, but there's one of Hell Driver, and there's one with got a katana with a chainsaw blade to it.
Seems like a fun movie.
Yeah, I think, 1 second. Yep, that's it. Okay, yeah, that's it. Hell Driver. It's ridiculous.
Oh, the Machine Girl looks stupid. That's great.
I don't really know what to say about the history of this other than honestly, it's just one of those movies that I think you need to see. It's probably, like I said, it's probably one of the most culturally impactful movies just based off of time and what it was talking about. It still holds up. It's just,
I mean,
the gore with the black and white looks great. I mean, sure, you can tell it's a little hokey, but like, it's
The
68.
hamburger and
Yeah, like it's 68. You know, the little girl was stabbing instead of her mother a pillow with the trough, but it's 68. You know, you got to give it some credit just for the practical effects side on a $120,000 budget, which is, you know, not big.
even for back then.
No, it's for
Like,
back then.
everybody's fucking smoking cigarettes too, like constantly.
So somebody did the math for accounting for inflation. Back then in 1968, it would be the equivalent of like $1 million now, which there are $30 million low budget films.
With how many cigarettes they smoked, the budget must have been on cigarettes like $200 alone.
Damn, that's 1968 money when cigarettes were a nickel.
No. Cigarettes are fucking expensive.
But
Which
we have Ben. He finds Barbara. He brings her into the house. The house is filled with the actual owners. They're in the cellar. They're chilling. The daughter was bit, and they're trying to just survive. You know, he goes outside very briefly, and that's when he ends up getting shot because they thought that he was a walker.
or ghoul or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
But
And they kind of just like gloss over it.
Well,
They don't pay it any real mind.
well, yeah, because what happens is there's like a truck full of fucking like gunned up you know,
Rednecks.
yeah, fucking hillbillies with guns just running around shooting everything that's walking and stuff.
Yeah.
That's how it
yeah,
ends.
it's a
like-
really bad to have a Benadryl trip.
Yeah.
And that's basically how it ends with like just like fucking crazy gun running hillbillies and shit.
It stood the test of time for a reason. It spawned numerous remakes. I mean, honestly, I tried counting earlier. There is, I think, 5 or 6 different remakes between colorization and actual remake, colorization in 3D, colorization of specific things, a director's cut through extra fucking scenes, which just makes it gorier. It's nuts.
There's nothing wrong with the gorier. The only two things a director's cut can do that, well, okay, not director's cuts are good for two things. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of unrated cuts.
Good tangent.
Sorry, my brain kind of frizzled for a second.
Oh, there's the TV. I want to say something. One of the reasons why the newscasting on this looks so good is because they were in such a small town in Pennsylvania that when they were filming, that was the only fucking news that they had to film. So the news was showing up to do reports on this, and George Romero and them were kind of just like, hey, can we borrow your camera guy? We gotta take some photos of a guy with a camera. Can we borrow your newscaster? We gotta take some photos of a guy on some video of a guy on a news.
The news guy actually appraises his role in the 99 remake, too. In the 90 remake.
Hey, can we borrow your helicopter? We gotta we gotta get some scenes with the helicopter. Like, it was such low budget fucking tactics. It's nuts so.
But this was kind of his small town, so it's not like they wouldn't like be like, all right, yeah, we know what's up.
Yeah, again, Mr. Rogers was big in Philadelphia. Was big in Philadelphia for giving a lot of credit where credit was due, getting a lot of people a lot of work and start in the industry. As stated, he was one of the people who gave George Romero an early shot.
What?
So,
Weird tangent. Mr. Rogers was never in the military. However,
Bob
Ross was, and he was a drill sergeant. That's why he never yelled, because he got so fed up with yelling at his privates and stuff.
That's all right. We can just put a happy.
He just sat there yelling at his privates. I'm staring at my crotch for the visual joke, so you get the joke there. Anyway, but yeah, he got so fed up with screaming and yelling, he just, yeah. So, just weird factoid for you guys.
But yeah, where was I?
You're talking about how Mr. Rogers got people starting the industry. To
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
George Romero did want to cast somebody for one of Mr. Rogers' people for Barbara. And Mr. Rogers was like, no fucking way. He's put a stop to that shit because he was like, I cannot have one of my people be seen in something like this.
Yeah, he was
very protective of his people.
He was also very religious, so I could kind of understand that.
He was.
He wasn't a Mormon. He was I think he was a Lutheran minister.
I don't know.
He was a minister of something or another. It wasn't like the weirdo Mormon shit. It was, one of the more kind of better sections of it, so to say. But yeah, that's why he wasn't in the military, because he was a minister. So the whole thing about him being like a fucking army sniper and stuff like that and having a big kill count never happened.
I've never once heard that theory.
Never heard that either.
Dude, I think I've seen that show on Joe Rogan. Which, fight us.
I knew more about Bob Ross being in the military and like painting to get by.
Yep, PTSD.
Ever hear about that's where
Well, he actually learned how to paint while he was in the military from somebody that he was stationed around. He learned the oil painting technique.
Correct.
I think it was like in Germany or something. He was taught by weird how art in Germany, but yeah, I think it was like somebody like wherever he was stationed or like that. Yeah, taught him how to do like that kind of oil painting technique that he ended up doing and popularizing. And then the guy ended up claiming that he stole his whole thing, and we'll get into that's a whole other episode.
That's a different Bob Ross episode.
Dude, the whole thing about Bob Ross and his image and stuff, that's a whole... Yeah, so stumble.
Yeah. Do you have anything that you want to say, Brandon? Do you have any tangents that you want to take us to?
Ooh, I got one.
We'll give him a chance first.
Let him go. I'll fix him.
All right.
Okay, like what's your like main go-to kind of zombie plan, and what's your main go-to zombie weapon?
That's pretty good.
Okay.
Like,
all right. Well, my main two zombie plan is to go to local prisons or jails.
Prisons or jails? Okay. Hold on. And then your weapon?
Weapon would be probably a spear in some way, like some kind of farming tool. You can't go wrong with a spear.
yeah, a good, well-shafted spear is a...
He said shaft.
Well, you need to make sure I have a good... Because otherwise it'll break.
Yeah, it has to be sturdy.
Yeah.
Sturdy shaft.
Also, you have to make sure it's able to, like, get through the skull.
What the fuck was that?
Do you know
Get through that?
You know how actually kind of hard it is to get through the skull, even with a good melee weapon?
Melee. Yes, I'm aware.
Like...
Skull. Thick.
Especially the forehead. It's the thickest part of your skull.
Yes.
Which is why if you're going to take a punch, use your forehead. mean,
Not fighting advice. Because I know people care about random shit that we have to say.
don't let them cross-cut you on the jaw. That's how you get knocked out. Rattles your brain.
It's true.
And don't get hit here in the temple because that's the weakest part of your skull.
That's also true. Let's see. Does it have to be like a base weapon, or could it be slightly modified?
Whatever you feel like.
All right, so whatever I feel like, I would say a chainsaw with unlimited fucking get. No,
No, chainsaws are not actually effective weapons, by the way, if you've ever actually seen them used.
yeah, no, they're not great. They're very very short range. You run out of gas. There's all sorts of starting issues. If it gets dirty, you can't start because you have to clean it out.
They can get caught and jammed in clothing.
Yeah, it's not a great weapon. Go.
My plan would probably, I'd go with fortify the Walmart.
It's not a bad plan. Walmart.
I mean, they have food, they have makeshift weapons, and in some cases, actual weapons. They have
Bring back real Walmart. We miss you.
some of them will have oil and car maintenance stuff in them.
Yep.
Also, the whole botanical section too, which if you can make work, I think we'll have like plants and stuff, so you have more reusable food.
The botanical section will have plants.
I meant like
Wow.
food plants, you know what I mean, crop stuff like tomatoes and shit.
The food area will retain food.
Fuck you. Oh man.
And then there's Legos to keep me occupied. I love it. And if you're a Marine, they got crayons so you can eat.
Oh, Marines would never go hungry with the craft section.
Jesus Christ.
Shout out to our certain Marine friends that we have. They should get on the podcast soon. We've been meeting to them.
Next.
Anyway,
Weapon.
It would probably be one of my. It'd probably be right now like my two-handed saber. It's basically like a medieval sword and a katana kind of combined. It's probably my most effective sword for that type of stuff. Then maybe some sort of modified spear type weapon.
Oh, so you get 2 weapons now?
Just kind of saying. Whatever lever action rifle I could get available.
3 weapons we're at.
Hmm.
So did you know that you get 3 weapons, Brandon?
You can
Does that
choose
change?
more weapons. You can add
Oh,
more.
yeah, both changed on me.
Yeah, right. The rules of. I've altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it further.
Whatever. What other weapons would you choose? You could list some more weapons that you'd use if you have a choice. I mean, if you got a gun, you got a gun. Of choice.
I've altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it further.
Shout out to our firearms episode. What's your gun?
I mean, I wouldn't really even want to carry a gun around. So I'd have the spear. I would probably grab a pretty good brand hammer, if I can. Not the crummy Walmart hammers.
Yeah, fuck your Walmart.
Walmart sells some decent stuff too, actually.
That's probably about it. I try to keep it as light as possible.
I would say it wouldn't have to be a spear, but probably something spear adjacent, if that makes sense.
Like a glaive, maybe? Or
Yeah.
a halberd.
Yeah, halberd.
Yeah, probably something like that.
A chain axe.
Yeah. Yeah, give me one of those lopping things for trees with a mini chainsaw attached to it.
Yeah, there's
No.
this Kickstarter I found that they're selling a 3D printed actual spinnable chain swords that are full size.
Jesus Christ.
They're like fucking $500 though.
I'd probably also take my boomstick. You can get it at S-Mart. Shop Smart. Shop S-Mart. It's 109.
type of gun was that too? I know it's a shotgun. I'm just trying to remember what the specific type it was.
I think it's a Winchester 12. I know it's a 12 gauge.
It's obviously 12 gauge. Was it double barrel or was it a lever action?
It's double.
It's double barrel? Okay, yeah. Side by side?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least that's how it's depicted. How it's treated, totally different.
Just kind of treat it as gun.
Yeah. Insert shotgun. It's his boomstick.
Hey, a good
That's a good movie, by the way.
Yes, we went over that whole
Yeah.
series.
Oh. Shout out to last week. I just rewatched
Wait, so
it
you
recently.
wouldn't take any ranged weapon at all? Like not even like say a bow and arrow or a crossbow?
Bow and arrow's relatively light. Brandon?
Yeah, the thing being, if we're dealing with the classic Night of the Living Dead, you know, once you get them in there, it's like, well, do I want to go down there and get them?
I mean, you could also make arrows too. All you need is stick, a little bit of cardboard, tape.
Yeah.
Well, I could just do the same thing with the spear. I could tie a chain to the spear and just throw the spear at them.
Yeah, but
So
want to
you'd
do
give
that.
up your melee weapon to throw the spear at them, but not take a bow and arrow?
I
If
mean,
it breaks, then I'm kind of screwed. And I just have a bunch of.
I understand trying to keep them at a distance, but there's
You know
still
what?
even further distance.
You know what? Give me a riot shield and a pike. I'm gonna go fucking 300 on this shit.
A decent pike would work, yeah.
Give me a riot shield and a pike. I'm gonna go full on Spartan on this shit.
We'll get a whole phalanx going.
Yeah, a phalanx. Shout out to our Greek episode.
Yeah,
And the reason I don't pick any guns is that I'll never know when I'm going to get more ammo. And then it's the
That's
noise
fair.
problem.
That's fair. That's
I'm
why.
not only will everyone else is going to hear me.
Yeah, that's why I feel like you get something that has a sturdy stock, and you can use it as effectively a bludgeoning weapon.
That's why I
as
said
well.
like a lever action rifle.
Yeah, that's the only reason I would go with a boomstick.
I'd probably give the shout out to a weird video game, the Dark Watch.
Wow. Okay.
Remember that one, the cowboy vampire
No.
one? Dark.
Go.
So the thing was they had like the guns. It was like the old Western guns, but they were all modified with like blades on them. And the lever action rifle just had a big blade on the back stock, so you just whop with it.
Whop.
Night Watch was really Bloodborne way back in the day, wasn't it?
It's I think it's Dark Watch. You played it with me because we played it as co-op. It was the vampire Western game.
Nope. Doesn't sound familiar.
Hate you. How do you not remember? We beat the game in co-op together.
Nope. Doesn't sound familiar.
But it had the it had
Oh,
like man, whatever.
What's your favorite zombie adjacent? So like there's a few different video games obviously that make big use of like zombie mutations.
Oh, so like what would be our favorite like zombie video game or like yeah, okay.
It doesn't have to be the zombie video game.
Oh, it could also be like books.
No. What is your favorite individual zombie mutation is what I'm saying. Like the tank
type.
or the witch or the boomer. Like that's my favorite zombie mutation that I've seen in any depiction of any type of media.
The boomer.
Dude,
Okay, boomer.
I'm just saying.
Okay, boomer. You just- Sorry, I had.
I like the Los Plagas.
The
Those
what?
are fun. The Los Plagas from Resident Evil 4. They're parasitic zombies.
Okay. Can you describe that a little bit more?
So in the setting of the game, they find these little microbial parasites that they call Los Plagas. The whole setting, the people worship and whatnot with them. When they infect you, you are kind of a mindless zombie, a little bit more towards like a Haitian voodoo zombie until you get activated by the one controlling you. And if you die, the Los Plagas, the parasite inside of you, can mutate and take more control. Like the head will explode and these
I go to
nice
drive
like
off
limbs
fire,
flail
truck
around.
fire.
I'm sorry, somebody interrupted you.
That's fine. It's pretty much a zombie, a kind of zombie that has a lot of different mutations throughout the game.
Okay.
Interesting. You?
I'm gonna go with the Resident Evil 8 like werewolf zombies.
Shout out from left field. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Resident Evil 8, the village, like they had like the there was like the werewolf guy, kind of the vampire chick, the swamp monster dude, and then like the puppet one. Yeah, but the werewolf guy kind of had like the werewolfy zombie type things. They weren't technically zombies, they weren't technically werewolves, but kind of in the middle thing. But yeah, so like the werewolfy zombie things. But they're also technically mole monsters too, apparently.
I would say for me, it's probably. I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of the right series. The Left 4 Dead series, The Witch. That little girl crying in the corner that just kind of like jump scares everybody.
Oh, with the claws and stuff.
Yeah. And she's like hard to kill. Pretty sure I'm thinking of the right series, Left 4 Dead. Because most movie adaptations have standard zombies, and that's about it. Maybe fast zombies.
Yeah, movie wise, I don't think much that they have a lot of crazy design.
Unless
Yeah.
you go to Japan. Like I said with the chainsaw one.
We are in America. I don't know how many times I have to keep telling you this.
Yeah, but
More
Japanese
specifically,
films
New
are
York.
fun and insane.
More specifically, New York. Oh, hey, what's that?
What's this?
What's that?
Oh, this is some kitchen sink batter. I got it from our interesting name, kitchen sink batter. Got it from our guy Joe, Top Notch Tinctures. Yeah.
On Instagram?
Yeah,
At Top
on
Notch
Insta-
Tinctures?
Yeah, he
Hey, I like it.
it's pretty good. I put a good wad of this in my bowl here when I mixed it with the green. I might put a little bit more in there too, or just kind of take it with the regular.
Thanks,
thing.
New York, for legalizing recreational marijuana.
But not technically sponsored, but yeah, shout out. I put him on.
Just a cool guy.
Yeah,
Just
cool
a cool guy.
Who's been a friend of the episode a few times.
Yeah, he's been on an episode. Shout out
come
to our
back
CBD
again.
episode. Love to have you back on.
Also to our live bullshit from Instagram with the event and stuff.
Yep.
Shout out to the whole Love Fest thing, whatever that was. And
Smack
whenever we
loves
do-
back. Yep.
Gotta get around to doing another one of those though. That was fun.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
Sorry to sidetrack us for a little bit, but had to.
I had to get a little bit of a shouty plug in. Same thing with like when I had the disposable or the Dope Boys hat.
I think it was them.
I also have a beanie, but I refuse to wear beanies, even if it was from there, because I look horrible in them. Maybe I'll have you or Garrett wear it.
Sorry, friends.
It's somewhere. I have to get it. But I like the bucket hat because I look goofy in it.
But I feel like we've kind of been rambling and stumbling.
Yeah, I mean, go
If
on.
you somehow haven't seen Night of the Living Dead, do yourself a favor. Check it out. It's 100% free on YouTube and Wikipedia. It's public domain.
fucking love that shit so
It's
much.
public domain. Thank you so much, public domain, for allowing us to have this on the background without fear of copyright. Maybe. I have no idea.
Fuck 'em.
And because of the love of public domain, we're going to eventually get a Winnie the Pooh zombie film.
That's
kind
true.
of already got one with that blood and honey thing.
Yeah, but it wasn't a zombie.
Yeah.
And it's getting a sequel movie too.
Ah. But,
I heard it sucked.
you know your local laws. Hey, look, zombie. Know your local laws about public domain.
And your gun laws too, just in case of zombies.
Yeah. But
I really gotta get myself a good lever action gun.
I feel like we had a relatively successful episode.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to add anything before we call it a night?
No? Good.
Like, share, subscribe. 500 subscribers, 250 subscribers.
Got a
Yada,
couple of
yada,
different
yada.
subscriber goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
250. We will do a couple of shirts giveaway. We'll
And a
pull out
holiday Playboy episode now.
so long as it's holiday season.
Fair
They have to get it by the end of the year for the holiday Playboy.
And then 500 for the Vanna White.
I will just give away a couple of free shirts. Couple meaning two. For getting to 250 whenever we get there, and at 500 the other thing that this guy promised.
Hey, I gotta try and do something here for it.
Good night, people.